Dave is not this anomaly who pushed to 400 pounds. That's what I'm trying to get. Like, there's a whole profession around a guy that size, that strong. What is up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's ASMR sip is 1907wire.com, coupon code Russo. ASMR Spritz Intelligent Elephant Cobalt. Hear your noises, but you do have to buy it to smell it. You have no idea how it smells. You just heard the noises. All other discounts to support this shadow ban content in the pinned comment below. Please subscribe with the bell on if you're new. Today, I'm going to be going into 2 steroid documentaries. One of the old ones, when I first came on the scene, I remember watching this documentary called Under Construction. And it featured one of the craziest freaks out of the UK called Dave the Freak. I believe his name is Dave Crosland. I'll have Andrew correct me. But Dave Crosland was one of the first guys, including all the enhanced athlete guys and everyone at the beginning, the OGs of the, hey, steroids exist. Hey, shit tons of people use steroids, but no one talks about it on the internet for harm mitigation and or education and or just showing what happens in the steroid world. Rather, everyone back then was shoving it under the rug. If you talked about steroids, you'd be banished out of the fitness industry, you'd lose your platform, blah, blah, blah. Dave was one of the guys in the UK to really show the underground scene as an actual user who was a freak. I believe he pushed over 400 pounds, and I wanted to show what happened to him because I remember watching this when I was like 19 years old, 20 years old was around the time. I'm 26 now. So this is what happened to Dave, and via a Vice documentary on steroids that just released 8 days ago, we get to see what Dave currently deals with after pushing the envelope of steroids. Less is more. Linear progression is what I try to preach on this channel, and that less is more, and harm mitigation and keeping up on biomarkers via blood work will catch it before it's too late. And we can see with Dave, it seems to be a bit too late, but he's still open and honest, and my respect goes out to him. But I wanted to show the Under Construction video that I personally watched, and then how he's shaping up today as far as, you know, kidney failure, heart failure, everything in between. It's not fun to be a mass monster. It's body dysmorphia. It's mental issues. I'm 260 pounds now. I feel very not like I want to be 260 pounds. I will go back down below 230 and feel much better. This guy was 400 pounds. I'm not even like 260s, nothing, right? I gotta gain what, another 100 plus pounds to even try and keep with this dude. Like, this is the type of guy who was a sidewalk cracker. Andrew threw up the mean sidewalk cracker. Like, if you're not cracking the sidewalk when you're walking, are you really big? Well, this is what happens to the aftermath of how long can you sustain that.
There's been a big intrusion in a way. I can never be anonymous now. That's gone. I know that this time I'm going to be running more drugs than I've run before. I'm not doing it again. So it's all or nothing.
I don't see his size unless...
Absolute freak, cracks the sidewalk when he walks, the Incredible Hulk, 400 pounds of dense tissue, obviously fat and water, but 400 pounds, that's a legit monster right there in the UK.
It's something stupid like walking through a crowd.
He's an animal. That's the only way you can describe it, and not a particularly pleasant animal when he's training.
They all know who he is, and they all avoid him like the plague.
Bigorexia, or what we sometimes call muscle dysmorphia, tends to be focused on people who think of themselves as being not masculine enough. For some people it's, well, either I get bigger or I'll end up killing myself.
It was meant to be an experiment to see how far you could push yourself, not kill yourself. There's something not right.
Apparently a car's going to arrive, flash its headlights, and we're going to follow it.
And here's the jarring thing, right? I have so much respect for him. You know, I've been in documentaries showcasing drug PD abuse as well with Generation Iron, but the reality of the fact is that this is what goes on in the open bodybuilding world. There's an entire industry of open IFBB pro bodybuilders who push tremendous amounts of drugs 24/7, and you have gurus managing and reducing the harm that they're doing to themselves and keeping up on their biomarkers, trying to keep them in the game. Bodybuilding is that extreme, and that's why I personally am attracted to it, is the extreme performance of it and seeing the limit be pushed by guys in open IFBB. It's very, very eye-opening to people to see this guy do this experiment, where in my head, I know tons of open IFBB pros who are probably pushing more than this or even more crazier shit that goes on in the United Arab Emirates at Muscle Factory Gym in Kuwait. I mean, like, this shit is absolutely way bigger, and he's just showcasing himself doing an experiment, blasting, right? This goes on professionally.
I haven't got a clue where we are. Oh, hang on a minute. What we're waiting for now is basically a black market chemist.
I'm going to make 1 litre of testosterone supplement.
I just didn't realise it was quite that simple. So they're actually testing the gym. I took the risks, I took a gamble, and I paid the price.
So I love Under Construction. If you guys haven't seen this documentary, I highly recommend it. I purchased this documentary years ago, and I highly recommend it. Dave's an awesome dude, honest, down to earth, actual 400-pound freak, and you kind of get to see the UK world of the underground of steroids, obviously over dramatized and everything. Like, you go to any gym anywhere, and there's someone enhanced in there using something, right? It's not that big of a deal anymore in 2023 as far as, like, yes, everyone in the gyms, even people you think, oh, like, that guy's natural, that guy might be on shit, right? When you go in your local gym, believe it or not. And it's like, this was one of the first documentaries that really showcased the freak side of it, right? The pushing the envelope to become a mass monster, over 400 fucking pounds. I wanted to show what happened to him. So I recently was on Vice's channel, which Vice has reached out to me multiple times to be in documentaries, to which I denied. I will never be working with Vice. So if a Vice representative is watching that, don't contact me. Don't bullshit me. Don't do nothing. I don't want nothing to do with Vice ever. You know, after what I seen with the Tate bullshit, I don't need none of that shit around me as far as, oh, what are they gonna do? Platform me? No, they're not. If Vice is watching, I don't like the way you guys do your documentaries. I don't. However, this one seems to be decent enough for me to sit through and find Dave in the video at the very end. I can say, as far as the 19 minutes, is it quality content? Yeah. You know, they over glorify this gyno surgery, which they're blaming gyno surgery on steroids, which I've had gyno surgery, which I'll have Andrew throw up here. So gyno can happen naturally in puberty. There's tons of guys who never touch gear ever and have gyno surgery. And gyno surgery is the most practiced cosmetic surgery in all of plastic surgery, in my opinion, right? Gyno surgery's been around forever. They overdid that as bullshit drama. You know, that's how Vice does it. They then went to see a chemist. Chemist showcases all the different drugs, and they talk about sterility, so the sterile environment used to make drugs. I will say for a fact, if you're actually in the game, you will go to someone like Jalosnik and they will test your shit and you'll see if it's pure or not, right? There is quality control going on in the underground via the customers getting their shit tested, putting the underground lab on blast. The underground lab goes out of business. Only the top labs stay in the game and they recycle. This shit is like kind of like, okay, yeah, for the average NPC watching, yeah, steroids aren't sterile. If you run the steroids through a filter, and I may or may not have made my own gear before, and when I double filter it, where's this hair and shit popping up? Like, there are very good UGLs, believe it or not. Some UGLs are theoretically better than, you know, compounding pharmacies. There have been forum boards of people testing compounding pharmacy stuff versus UGL, and it really depends on who does the recipe that day to make sure it holds. That type of shit I don't really enjoy. In the Under Construction, it was not like that because it's not a guy trying to over dramatize for views like this Vice documentary guy, in my opinion. Under Construction was very real. I highly recommend it, and all the money went towards Dave, not Vice, which constantly preys off of, you know, the illicit use of drugs while not really doing anything right. It's like the news bullshit of they're profiting off this shit while, you know, veering towards the side, when in reality, people are not going to stop using steroids. People are not going to stop using hormones. Where the fuck is Vice going into these gender altering doctor surgery places and discussing hormone blockers and estrogen and shit and painting that picture of that crazy lifelong choice versus a dude wanting to shoot up fucking test? So if Vice is watching, that would be a really good video, really good documentary that I would watch, is if you went to the people transitioning boys to girls and using hormone blockers to apparently this is great, and recording that and seeing what the doctors say as far as the morals around that, because this is kind of ridiculous. However, they do bring Dave on, and I wanted to feature Dave. This is what happened to him after the Under Construction documentary. In my opinion, I do not think he was tracking biomarkers the whole time and or didn't care. Didn't give a fuck, was too focused on his goal of being big as shit and ignored all the warning signs, because this is a sad story, but this is how the story normally ends to someone who pushes so hard.
David Crosland, a former steroid-using bodybuilder, has turned his efforts to harm reduction.
So Dave, what do you do nowadays?
Probably the easiest way to describe Eval is a blood testing company for people with alternative lifestyles. It's just about minimizing the harms that people expose them to, be that steroids or be that recreational drugs.
Let's get into your story in particular. You're a pretty big lad. I'm telling you, like, the biggest guy I've seen so far. How did you first get into using steroids?
I started steroids at 19. I finished steroids at 24, at which point I was very large, not in bad condition, and had the potential to turn pro as a bodybuilder. And then I tore my left pec completely off. That sort of ended that, and then I spiraled into depression. The renal specialist basically said I outgrew my kidneys' capability of managing my physique. So I'm stage 4.
So stage 4 kidney failure. Your kidneys are only designed to withstand, like, in my opinion, 220 pounds max, right? You go over that, your quality of life goes down, and or your longevity for sure goes down if you're pushing above 230 pounds. My 2 cents for extreme longevity purposes, just stay under 230. If you're above 230 like me at 260, not good, right? Good for performance, bodybuilding, whatever. Not good for longevity. You have Dave over here, 400 plus pounds. Do you think the kidney can really sustain all that muscle needing filtered constantly? No. And this is stage 4 kidney failure. So kidneys are silent killers. They're called silent killers because you do not feel no kidney pain. There's no warning signs until the kidneys are at less than 20% operating capacity, and then you can't repair them. They don't repair themselves like the liver. You have to be very careful with kidneys and constantly be checking your BUN, EGFR, all that shit, and personally taking your kidney health very seriously and not pushing the gear to such extreme degrees, not doing tren for months on end. All this shit again comes with harm mitigation of knowing the damage that you're doing to yourself rather than ignoring it, waiting for it to compound to a point you're at stage 4, and that's an alternative life for the rest of your life until you get a transplant potentially, or they come out with organs that they can grow and that you can add to cart and buy and get a transplant. These are all things down the pipeline and or you get waiting on a transplant, but there's no way to recover it. You can't go to no guru. How do I recover my kidneys out of stage 4? It's just managing them at that point. That's it.
or kidney failure. And that'll never get better.
Is it a lot of medication now? Is it like a whole lifestyle change?
No, not really. Not from the kidneys. We've got a lot of medication for the heart failure and the heart attacks, but not from the kidneys.
Heart attacks? Plural heart attacks?
Well, I had a heart attack, an official heart attack, an official myocardial infarction in end of November last year.
Do you know anybody who's died because of steroid usage?
It's difficult to say that someone's died because of steroids. Are there people that have passed that steroids may have played a significant role in it? Yes, without doubt. You can't OD on steroids. You know what I mean? You can't go and take too many and drop dead.
Yeah.
It's a time thing. It's a constant abuse situation.
So what advice would you give to an 18-year-old possibly considering taking steroids?
I have people come to me on a weekly basis that I'm telling them they're now testosterone dependent or they're now infertile. And they're shocked by that revelation. You know, there is risk with these drugs. Learn the risks you're taking and then decide if those risks are worth those rewards.
Awesome bars by Dave, right? Awesome bars. Definitely not going towards a, hey, don't do it. Because if you do that, then they're going to do it. Teaching them about the risk, harm management, and or how, you know, his story played out, you know, heart attacks, stage 4 kidney failure. Do I want to be 400 pounds after hearing that, knowing the risk, you know, associated with that? And then also knowing that, for example, the world's strongest man, these are all enhanced athletes that are at above 400 pounds, right? This is the type of fire they're playing with in a professional career sense. That's what's going on. And then Dave pays the brunt of playing up there with the big boys. As far as the drug use goes, that is not uncommon. Like, Dave is not uncommon. The world's strongest man, go Google them. I'll have Andrew throw up their weights. They're all enhanced. They're all lifting crazy weights that jack up their blood pressure, rip apart their muscles, and then those kidneys, which are only designed for their natural body, are working overtime 24/7. Dave is not this anomaly who pushed to 400 pounds. That's what I'm trying to get. Like, there's a whole profession around a guy that size, that strong. And this is what people need to see. They need to see the other side, and they need to know the harm they're doing to themselves and how it's compounded over the years. If you're 18 and do a test cycle and then come off test at 20, you theoretically could recover completely, gain new permanent muscle cells, be at a new set point, mature your body out faster, and be good to go. Another person at 18 could take steroids and be infertile for pretty much forever, right? Very, very rare. I've seen fertility recovered to an extreme degree multiple times. I participated in helping people recover their fertility multiple times, but it's theoretically possible to permanently be infertile, right? So there's these risks associated, but the long-term risks are associated with the level of abuse you're doing, the size you are, the size you're pushing, and overall the length of time you're constantly doing these blasts. There's only so many times you can blast before your body's like, okay, we're gonna just cruise now, or something really bad's gonna happen if you continue blasting. It's very hard to know when that point has happened, but it rears its head real ugly, and Dave is the full example of it being real ugly at the end.
Steroid use is rife in the UK, and it's extremely easy to get your hands on them, trapping men in a cycle that seems hard to break. From what I've learned, a lot of men turn to steroids when they're feeling self-conscious, with social media platforms often perpetuating the narrative, feeding us unrealistic body images. Ironically, the side effects can sometimes make men even more self-conscious, and in some cases, be fatal. There needs to be more education available on the impact steroids can have on men's lives, because if people are aware of the potential risks, I doubt so many would take them.
As far as the steroids go, steroids are not going away. Steroids are very safe in extreme amounts, believe it or not. And there are tons of people who can tolerate them for their entire life. There is also the other side of the coin where they do harm. If you do not manage, mitigate, and or track the harm you're doing to yourself, it's going to rear its head real ugly. I'm sure if I saw Dave's blood work, I could tell him, hey, you're in stage 2 kidney failure right now. If you continue, it's not going to get any better. I would recommend downsizing to only 230 pounds. You're still big as shit from 400 pounds. Save your kidneys, become more athletic, repair your heart, let your heart rest, let your heart atrophy back to the size it's supposed to be, because the heart will grow to keep up with 400 pounds, right? That's why the heart attacks occur. That's why his heart issues. That's why I don't want to be a 300 plus pound mass monster. There is World's Strongest Man, which is a professional organization around the men being 400 plus pounds, lifting insane shit on steroids. And I watch it, entertaining. I watch it, I love it. And it's really cool to see the limit pushed by males. Males push a limit. That's what this guy can't talk about. I think people get into steroids because they want linear progression forever. It gets to a point where it's stupid, it's comical, it's really not. Like, for my 2 cents is like, if you're doing steroids to get girls, right? Do girls really like a 260 pound dude? Not really, right? They like them shredded around 220, 230. But like, when you become a legitimate mass monster, you're doing that for yourself, and it's normally around body dysmorphia, feeling too small, inadequate when you're not. Learning social skills and not becoming a gym cell should be a major key. Right? This is something that's not talked about in all 19 minutes, is that the world of bodybuilding is revolved around the insecurity of your body, and then pushing it to become less insecure and building disciplined mentality, to which then you take out into the real world. You build social dynamic relationships with your disciplined mentality, and overall reequate into society with this physique. Gives you ultra confidence. If you never reequate into society and you stay a gym cell, you stay locked in a gym like it's never enough, then that's where these mental problems stack up. Sure, the steroids play a role in jacking up your hormones, jacking up your mood, jacking up your neurochemistry, and everything in between. But when I think about it, I think of the root cause being the isolation of bodybuilding. Remember, like, for me personally, I've been missing combat training because I just miss rolling with my boys. Like, I miss going to the combat gym, going to the wrestling room, and just being with the guys, right? When you're in bodybuilding, it's all about you. You're on the gym floor, worried about focusing on yourself. You're worried about focusing on all the meals you're eating. You're worried about focusing on all the drugs, the ancillaries, the blood work. It's all focused on you viciously. And unless you have a guru there that's helping you out, managing your mind as well, then it's pretty much a solo endeavor that can consume you completely, to a point where you're winding up like Dave in stage 4 kidney failure, heart attacks, when this all could have been prevented. He could have steered his life around, but there's no real point, in my opinion, of pushing the mass to the extreme. All his side effects pretty much came from pushing the mass to the freaking absolute limit, which is cool. I love performance. I love pushing it to the limit. But to act like when you go to the limit, there's not consequences, it's one of those things. I really do hope Vice paint the picture of steroids of also helping all the hypogonadal males around the world feel like males again, from the society destroying natural testosterone. Why can't Vice make a documentary tailored towards that? Because in the emails to me, they paint bullshit of like, oh, it's gonna be like that. I'm sure he got bullshit painted like that. It's never like that. You're never seeing the true 2 sides of the coin, because there's a whole world of low T incel males that are destroying this society by fucking propping up hoes, OnlyFans models, engorging in video games and virtual reality, and destroying masculinity. And you're seeing it in real time every day. This is not talked about. It's not talked about how hormone replacement therapy and or getting their hormones back to normal can heal so many of these men suffering in silence. We're just looking at the juice head who went to 400 plus pounds and has heart and kidney failure, where there's so many people around the world who use fucking steroids every damn day and they don't face any consequences. And I'll have Andrew, for the closing statements, throw up the age of Dorian Yates. That's the age of Dorian Yates right now. I'll have Andrew throw up a picture of Dorian Yates in his prime and what Dorian Yates currently looks like. That guy took so many fucking drugs for so long, outmassed everyone on stage for so long. This is the type of shit that needs to be featured of like, this is not going away. The harm mitigation education is what's going to help, but it ain't going away. I'll see you guys in my next video.